The following is a Hoop Ball presentation.
Hello, and welcome to the Hoop Ball DFS Today podcast. I am your host, Mike Apatra, joined by my good buddy Keith Cork here to break down this wonderful Wednesday, January 27th slate for you guys. It is a big one. It is a doozy, but that's why we're here. We're going to go through this. We're going to cut down the player pool. We're going to talk about some of our favorite plays, some of the value that we'll have available for us. As always, this is a quick hit early slate, so monitor the news, follow it. Keep your eye on everything. Things will be changing, especially this season more than ever. But how we doing, Keith? It's a nice, wonderful Wednesday over here.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. My GPP lineups tonight aren't doing so great. Reggie Jackson really kind of blew a hole in those. But other than that, I'm doing pretty well, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. Lineups are, I don't have any Austin Rivers really. So, full shame on me. I guess I should have. So you should just know he's going to start a game going 10 for 10 in the first 10 minutes. But nonetheless, I'm doing pretty well right now. I can't really complain. I think the only bad play necessarily, I don't even know if it's a terrible play, was Marcus Morris. I didn't get suckered into too much of the Clippers. I had Terrence Mann and I had Marcus Morris. Those were the two guys I played mostly. Outside of that, it was just kind of, getting some of the high-priced guys like the, Beal I wanted to get. I wanted to get Cousins. I got Gobert and a couple of them. I believe I ended up falling on R.J. Barrett, so I haven't checked that game to see how that's going for me. But it's a new slate. It's a new day. And before we jump into anything, though, quick shout-out to our presenting sponsors, mybookie.ag. Guys, check them out. Head over to mybookie.ag. Sign up, and when you do, use that promo code HOOPBALL, HOOPBALL. And what you'll get is a 50% match on up to $1,000 of your deposit. So your initial deposit, if it's $500, they'll give you $250 to play with for free, guys. And this is the best, the only guaranteed sports book. And I guarantee them to give them my stamp of approval. I mean, these guys are just absolutely fantastic. Every single line that they have, their odds boost contests are absolutely on point. They really know how to draw you in with them because it's just free money. The site gives it away. So, guys, check out mybookie.ag. Maybe you're getting sick of your current platform. You want to try something new, or maybe you just never knew that they were out there. And they also have a fully fledged casino. So maybe you go somewhere else to, play some bets as well. You can come here to get your table action as well. Every single casino card game, table game that you could think of that is in your local casino, they have on their site. So check them out. Use that promo code HOOPBALL. Want to give a nice little quick shout out to Manscaped as well. These fellows over there are absolutely crushing it. And, check out their products, guys, regardless of which one you are attached to. I just find myself loving the travel kit, a little bit of everything in there. The Lawnmower 3.0, it's waterproof, quick charging, 90-minute charge time. Absolutely fantastic product. And you can go to your store. You can check all the buzzers, the razors, everything in there. You're going to end up paying $30, $40 more for a worse quality razor. And it's probably not even waterproof for that being said. So, guys, check them out for just a little bit more than the average price, I guess, of a video game. You could go get a whole perfect package kit, guys. And if you use that promo code HoopBall20, you get 20% off plus free shipping. So HoopBall20, and that's 20% off plus free shipping. So, Keith, we have some games to talk about, my friend. We are going to do our best to keep this under an hour. It is one of the larger slates of the season. So, like I said, we'll do our best. There's no guarantees. There's no promises here. But we're going to jump right into it. We have the Indiana Pacers traveling to Charlotte, take on the Hornets. First game of the night. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time game. As far as injuries are concerned for the Hornets, Nick Richards is probable. For the Pacers, we're looking at Karis LeVert, T.J. Warren out, while Domantas Sabonis is questionable. As we saw, he had that pretty rough bone bruise or that knee bruise. Obviously, and thankfully, he dodged a lot of the things that could have been wrong, whether it was an MRI or an X-ray. He dodged fractures. He dodged any ligament damage. So there's a chance he suits up. I probably would say it's more on the doubtful side, just something else to monitor as we go forward. And, the theme of the season has also been not having these lines out. So there is no line for this game. On the 12-game slate, we only have 4 lines available as we record this the night before. But That's pretty much the landscape of what we're looking at here, Keith. So we'll start off with this Pacers team. What are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest question here has to be if Domantas Sabonis plays, right? If he doesn't, the Pacers are going to have a sizable 23.8% usage hole to just fill with multiple guys. I mean, there's not one guy that's really going to stand out and step up to fill that role. But if I was to guess who was going to fill that role, at least offensively, it'd have to be Jeremy Lamb, and he's sitting at a nice salary of 5,100. Jeremy Lamb's definitely playable in a lot of lineups, and he's going to score a lot. He's looked really good recovering from those knee injuries, which is really nice to see. Obviously, Malcolm Brogdon's always in play, 8,600 on tonight's slate. And, especially without Sabonis, he's going to get a lot of touches. He had a really good game last game, so I do like him quite a bit. And then if we're looking for some GPP value, and if Sabonis doesn't play, I think you can definitely go to the bargain bin with Goga Batazde at 3,000. The basement price there. This dude scored 60.5 DK points in just 12 minutes his last game out. So that point per minute potential is really there, and he's really a guy to look for in one of the stronger GPP plays. How about you?
I'm really looking at really two options here. You said Lamb. I'm with you. If Sabonis sits, I expect this guy to kind of step up. He's going to take a lot of that usage, especially now that we know that there's not going to be, LeVert coming back anytime soon. Same thing with Warren. They're anticipating this guy to come in here and get some shots up, and he hasn't been shy yet. And I think McDermott as well. I get the Goga call. I'm a little worried simply because when Miles Turner was out that one game after he initially hurt his hand that he played the following game, he barely sniffed the court. That was with Miles Turner out. So, they could go small. And we've seen them do it plenty of times where they just end up throwing McDermott at the 4 and run, or maybe they play Jakar Sampson at the 4. So they have some other options where I don't know if on a 12-game slate I end up on Goga, but I don't hate it. If we hear that he's starting, that's a different story. Then I can look at him. And I think at that point, fire him up. But for me right now, it's just Lamb and it's just McDermott. Let's look over on the Charlotte side of things, though. Things can be a little bit interesting over here. We know they have a lot of heavy hitters between Hayward, Rozier, Graham, and LaMelo. These guys can pretty much any one of the 4 can break a slate at any point in time. But do you have a preference on any of these guys or any of them on your radar?
Yeah, I just think Gordon Hayward, he's just solid. He's consistently low priced. I mean, 7,500 for this guy is just, I think it's still a really good price tag for him. So I'll probably have plenty of Gordon Hayward. Another guy that I'm looking at that's a little bit less is PG Washington, 6,400. He's a little bit inconsistent, but he's got that 40 DK point upside. So he's a better GPP play, but those are really the only 2 guys I'm looking at here at the Hornets side is Washington and Hayward. How about you?
I don't think I'll end up playing anybody in this game. I think with 12 games on the docket, that I'll probably end up going elsewhere. If you want to play Hayward, it's a great price tag for him. I think 75 is fantastic. Again, it wouldn't shock me if one of these guards go wild, but they're almost at 7K each. I'm not paying that. And then if you're dumpster diving, with your Goga play, Cody Zeller, 3,400. Since he's returned, we've seen some pretty decent games put together by him. Back to last 2 games, 20-point DK efforts plus. He's only playing about 18, 15 minutes, but they're slowly working him back up. And if he comes out here and he plays 20, 22 minutes or anything like that at 3,400, I don't hate that. But again, not someone I see myself gravitating towards too much. But the next game is a little bit more interesting, has a little bit of pieces, I think, for DFS. So with the Detroit Pistons traveling to Cleveland, take on the Cavs in this one. As far as the injury report goes, for the Cavs, Marquise Bolden, Matthew Dellavedova, Kevin Love all ruled out, while Larry Nance Jr. and Lamar Stevens are questionable. And then we have Blake Griffin and Killian Hayes both ruled out. This is a front half of a back-to-back for the Pistons. I believe they play the Lakers on Thursday, so that is why Blake Griffin is resting in this one. As far as the game total, we do have one. It is one of the 4 games that we do have. 215.5 game total. Cleveland favored by 2.5 points. So we'll start off with this Detroit side of the ball. For me, it's simple. When we ever see Blake Griffin sit, Sadiq Bey, we can expect to see a few more minutes from. We can expect a few more shot attempts. He's generally pretty popular. A lot of people go to him. Even on 12-game slate, I imagine some people will go to him. So he's definitely a play for me. And then, the way that DeLon Wright's been playing, I want to say look at him, but that price bump up to 65 kind of takes me out. It's probably just going to end up being Grant. Maybe a share of Derrick Rose here and there. But, I'm looking at more of my exposure, I think, on the Cleveland side of the ball. What are you looking at over here, Keith?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. Jeremy Grant, he's probably just about the safest guy for cash you can play. I mean, 8,100 is pretty good if you want to spend up from that 7,500 price tag from Hayward to 8,100. That's definitely a great play. Derrick Rose, I actually do like him quite a bit. I think trade rumors are really starting to float around the league now. And I think we're really due for a Derrick Rose showcase game to see that this guy still has something in the tank. And he's been sitting out for quite a while, so he's going to be rested up. I'm looking for some big things from him. He's 5,300, so I think I'm going to have some exposure here to Derrick Rose. Another guy I'd look at, and maybe more so for GPPs, but this is a dumpster dive for Isaiah Stewart at 3,300, and that's solely based on Mason Plumlee, just his inability to stay on the court, and combined with the fact that the Pistons are going to start eventually looking towards the youth movement here. I mean, they're not winning games; they've got nothing to play for except for youth development. So Isaiah Stewart's one of those guys I keep plugging into my lineups, especially for GPPs, and just waiting for that game where he's going to get 25, 30 minutes and put up some decent numbers. I mean, he has a really solid floor since he rebounds the ball at a good rate.
Yeah, and he's an absolutely fantastic player. The only thing is he has that very similar issue as Plumlee, where they both struggle with fouls. So put both of them together, and you might be able to get 48 minutes out of the combination of the two, and that's the struggle. And I want to see Stewart play more. I would love to. I think the problem is you put him in a starting lineup. Then let's say he started this game. He gets that nod. He goes against Drummond. It's going to be tough for him to check out. Of the first quarter with anything less than 3 fouls. Going against some of these star centers. So, I think we see him kind of, stay in this bench role for just a little bit. They did pay Plumlee as well, handsomely. I don't know why in the offseason. Made no sense. It was a very weird move by them where they're like, we're going to let Christian Wood walk, but we're going to sign Plumlee. But it's just, I just don't see it necessarily coming in like the horizon. I think we got a little ways out. I hope I'm wrong. I love the kid's talent. I want to see him play a little bit more, but we'll move over to the Cleveland side of the ball. This is kind of where I like my action, man. This is where I want to get a piece of the pie. Andre Drummond at 8,400. One of my favorite center plays, I think, on this slate. I just love him for GPPs. I want to say he's perfectly playable in cash as well, just because of the price tag. But there's obviously some risk associated with kind of the minutes and the everything else surrounding Drummond since Jared Allen came over there. But nonetheless, I'm expecting a rock solid game. It's a great matchup. 8,400 is a fantastic price tag. If he plays 28 minutes, there's no way he scores less than 40, 45 DK points in this one. So I'm perfectly okay. We're looking at some Andre Drummond. Outside of that, I might have like a share or two of a guy like Colin Sexton, but it's not going to be too crazy or anything like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree on Drummond. I think he's probably the best play on the slate, actually. Guy that I'm really going to go to. I made some money on him last game, and I think I'm going to go to him again this time. I think it's a really juicy matchup for him, and Mason Plumlee and Isaiah Stewart aren't exactly the most fearsome duo to go up against. So as long as the Cleveland Cavaliers starters don't get pulled for whatever reason they're getting crushed, which shouldn't be the case in this game, I think he's pretty safe to put up a lot of points. Sexton 6,600, also a really nice matchup here. He shot 35% and 37% the last 2 games. I mean, you have to imagine he does better than that. This game against a weak Detroit defense. So I like him at 6,600. And another guy is obviously, Darius Garland, who's still working his way back, trying to get up there. He's hasn't really been blowing it out of the water the last couple of games since he's been back, but 4,600 is a really great price if you need to save some salary. It's not somebody I'm going to go to right away, but if I need to fit him into a lineup, it's a guy that I'll definitely look to.
Absolutely. And it's worth monitoring, I think, with Taurean Prince, too, because if we do see that, I believe Larry Nance is questionable if he does sit. Taurean Prince may draw that start, should see some extended time at the 4, along with Cedi Osman. We should see both of them play some decent 4. I think Prince would probably get the start there, though. We'll move on to the next game. Sacramento Kings traveling to Orlando, take on the Magic. It feels like these games, when these two teams always meet up, it ends up being a little fantasy friendly. So I'm pretty excited about this one. For the Magic, Al-Farouq Aminu, Markelle Fultz, Jonathan Isaac, Chuma Okeke, all ruled out. Michael Carter-Williams, questionable, still dealing with that left foot sprain, I believe. Yep, left foot sprain. For the Kings, Daquan Jeffries, ruled out. Nemanja Bjelica, doubtful. And we have Hassan Whiteside, probable. Do we have a game total? We do. 221.5 game total, with the Magic being favored by 1 point. So we look at this team, man. I'll break it down. I'll pass it over to you. Let me hear what your thoughts are initially on this Kings team. Starting to get some hefty price tags on some of these guys.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I don't. I mean, just based on some other options that are across the slate, I'm not really going to play like a Darren Fox or anything like that, a Buddy Hield. The only guy I'm really looking at on the Kings side, I do agree with you. This is going to be a fantasy-friendly game. I think mostly because it's going to be competitive. It's going to be a close one. Vegas currently has it at a 1-point spread, so it's going to be competitive. They're going to be back and forth. But I do like Marvin Bagley at 5,700. I think he's a really nice cash option. I think he's really taken on a more active role in the Kings offense, and it's done wonders for them. And I think he's just really been consistently been scoring in the mid-20s and up for DK points in the last 4 or 5 games. So I just like him at 5,700. I think that's a really solid cash play.
Yeah, no, I don't hate it. I'm with you, though. I don't think I'm going to have too many of these Kings either. The one guy I was kind of looking at was maybe Halliburton, but there's probably better, safer options out there. He's probably GPPs only. Orlando side of the ball. Things are going to be a little bit different for me on this side of the ball. I definitely have some interest over here. If people listen to our show, I always say, shooting guards going against the Kings are a thing. It's something I like to target. It's something I enjoy to target. So I look at Evan Fournier stepping into the arena, coming off of 3 straight, actually I would say 4 straight great games, but 3 straight where he's had this elevated usage, elevated shot attempts. He's handling the ball a little bit more now with no Markelle Fultz. So I do have some interest in Evan Fournier at 6,400. He's probably coming in as one of my favorite plays on the Magic right now. I don't love that price tag. I wish he was more like 58, 57, 59, somewhere around there. But I'll take the 64. I'll pay for it in a couple spots. And I don't mind taking a look at Aaron Gordon. If Michael Carter-Williams begins to play, if this is his return, keep an eye on what that means for Cole Anthony. I wouldn't expect him to immediately just yank Cole Anthony out of the job. But Carter-Williams kind of offers something Cole Anthony doesn't defensively with his length. A little bit more of a veteran presence as well, so he might eventually usurp him as the starting point guard. But that is kind of my take on this Orlando Magic team. Keith, why don't you tell me what you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm 100% right there with you, Mike. Not much more to add. I mean, Cole Anthony 5,500. He's had back-to-back 32 plus DK point games and been playing really well. But if Michael Carter-Williams is in, there's no way I'm playing the guy just because he's going to lose some minutes there. But if Carter-Williams is out, I'll definitely look his way a little bit, but not necessarily excited about him. Aaron Gordon's probably the one I'm most excited about. And I could play some Evan Fournier, but like you said, that price is just climbing, and it's getting to the point where I'm getting a little uncomfortable with it. So not my favorite play, but I like Aaron Gordon at 7,700.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love the spot. Sometimes we don't get that price tag in the spot. We don't get the perfect recipe, and if you love the spot, you love the spot. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm not going to go overboard on Evan Fournier. I'm not saying lock him in as your favorite play, but I definitely see him being a little bit of a low-owned guy. I'm sure everybody will be on a 12-game slate, but I don't expect him to draw too much ownership, and this could be another 35 to 40-point game from him in store. So moving on to the next game, Brooklyn Nets traveling to Atlanta, take on the Hawks in this one. There is no game total for this one. But as far as injuries, we do have the Nets. Spencer Dinwiddie, Nick Clarkson out. Everybody else should be good to go. Hawks have yet to release their injury report. They played today. We had some things to monitor for that Hawks team coming in. Capella and Trae Young were questionable. They both ended up suiting up and playing. Now, we'll start with this Brooklyn team. They're still kind of figuring things out. They're still kind of getting it together. Durant, Harden, both over 10K. Both feel like they're priced appropriately. If anything, once we expect Harden to be a little bit more aggressive, this probably is a little underpriced. And that's the only thing. Eventually, Harden's going to have 15 to 18 shot attempts. He's not going to be floating around this 9-10 range forever. So if I had to pick out of these guys, these 3 studs, I think they're all very much in play. I'd probably GPPs play Harden, Cash, Durant, and Kyrie, depending on how much money you want to spend. Make more sense to me. But that's it. I'm not playing anybody else. I think it's tough to trust anybody else on this team with these 3 guys all playing.
Yeah. Harden's a great GPP target just because he has that capability to put up 70, 80 points in any given night, and it just really takes the right recipe for that to happen. And I don't know if it's this against the Hawks here. I mean, the Hawks don't play a lot of defense, so Maybe definitely a good GPP play there, but Kyrie Irving 8,800, he's probably my favorite of the three studs just because of that price tag. And I love that price, and I'm still waiting for one of those crazy Kyrie games, like we saw earlier this season. It hasn't quite happened since he's come back, but he's due for one. Another guy I'd look at, I don't typically look at a lot of the ancillary pieces over on Brooklyn, but Jeff Green, 4,800. He played 45 minutes and 34 minutes in a couple games out of their last four. So he's putting up big minutes. I feel like he's a good cash option, just at that 4,800 price tag.
Absolutely, I can't argue with that one. Looking at the Atlanta side, though, we know this Brooklyn team, just like Atlanta, plays little to no defense. It was probably one of the things that they had to give up in order to get Harden, understandably. If this game stays close, it should be just points on points. Now, we talked about a few of these guys in Atlanta coming into this game tonight, as we record this the night before, questionable, and it is the second half of a back-to-back. So we need to keep an eye on Capella. We need to keep an eye on Trae Young. Now, everybody's healthy. Everybody's playing. I do not like that price tag from Capella, but I expect a big game from him if he suits up. Same thing with Collins. I don't love that price tag. I love the matchup. Trae Young at 9,200. Now, he's more expensive than Kyrie Irving, and I'm not going to probably pay that for him on a 12-game slate, but I love the matchup. So I don't know what to do here, Keith. I'm in a hard spot. I hope they make it easy for me. I hope that we just see Capella and Trae. They get the night off. I could just load up on some Rondo. I could play a little bit of John Collins here and there, and just call it a day. Because I want to have more exposure to this. Maybe if I'm playing the Brooklyn side of the ball a little bit more, if I have a Kyrie in my lineup, it makes more sense. I can feel a little bit better running it back with some of these Hawks guys. But with 12 games available and the price tags of some of these guys, it's tough for me to buy in.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think it's a lot easier if they do sit some of these guys. I don't know if they will, though. I mean, I think, Capella played 35 minutes. I think he suits up again. 9,100 is a pretty hefty price tag for the guy, but, he does have DeAndre Jordan on the other side of the ball. So, and he's been crushing it. And so I don't really mind playing him. If you have that cash sitting around, I mean, it's a chalky play, right? And if he's playing, obviously, we got to check on that news. The other guy I'd look at maybe is DeAndre Hunter, 6,500. He's on a heater, and he had another good game tonight. I was listening in a little bit as I was working and looking at this slate, and especially if Cam Reddish misses some more time tomorrow, then or tonight I should say, then DeAndre Hunter at 6,500 is a really good play, I think.
I can't argue with it, man. He's been lights out all season. Just the field goal percentage is through the roof for this guy. He can't miss. He's really taken his game to another level this season. And honestly, the quieter one of their wing bunch. Like last season, it was all Reddish, it was all Werder, and now all of a sudden we're sitting here, and Hunter wound up being the best one. So I'm with you, though.
Yeah, I bid on that Reddish, candy to start the season in my season-long leagues, and it's kind of biting me, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
it's good.
But Hunter's on a heater, though.
I got the cavities from the Reddish candy. I think Reddish is going to be a great player. It's just it's taking a little bit longer. He's very, very raw talent-wise, but he's got the intangibles. We'll move on to the next game, though. Fifth game of the night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time game. Denver Nuggets traveling to Miami, take on the Heat in this one. As far as an injury report, P.J. Dozier, Greg Whittington, both ruled out for the Nuggets. For the Heat, Jimmy Butler, Mo Harkless, Myers Leonard, Chris Silva, all ruled out. Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, Goran Dragic, Avery Bradley are all questionable. So this Heat team, poor Heat, man. One of the teams that has not had their roster for the entire season, but is yet to also have like a game canceled for not having enough players. They have just enough players to play every single game. So looking at this Denver team, no Jimmy Butler. I expect it to not necessarily be a cakewalk, but it shouldn't be too tough a challenge for them. It's going to take a lot from Bam to hold down Jokic. So 10-5 for Jokic. We're getting a little bit of a reduced salary for him. I do love that. I do love the price tag. Do I land on him? Do I play a ton of them? I don't think I end up having too many shares. I think I'm probably underweight compared to the field. I'll have him in one or two of my lineups. If I'm spending up on any studs, I guess, that are over the 10K price tag on this slate, he's probably gonna be one of my top options between him, maybe like a Giannis. But that's it, man. I really just don't have too much options, and anybody over here on Denver as well. It's just, again, big slate. Got to cut some games out. Got to take some players out of the player pool. And, I'm paying a premium price for a lot of these guys in what could be a matchup where they only see three quarters.
Yeah, I mean, and add that to the fact that, two of these teams, these are two teams that are in the bottom third in terms of pace in the league. I mean, there's just not a lot to like here. On the Nuggets side of the ball, I could do some Michael Porter Jr. at 7,000. It's a kind of a hefty price tag, and you did see a price bump, but it's swallowable. But yeah, I'm probably not going to play him, to be honest. And if I'm looking at the Heat side, I mean, same thing. I can't seem to get them right anyways. But Kendrick Nunn's 5,700 would be the only real option I'd be looking at. He had one game down recently, and so he has a little bit of a discount on his price. So you might want to take advantage of that, and that would be a smart thing to do. I mean, he shot 5 for 17 last game, but he did get 17 shot attempts, of course. So if Hero plays, though, I mean, he's not even in play either, and I'm probably not going to play any of these guys. One guy I would look at on the Heat side for GPPs, though, is Avery Bradley. 3,100. If he plays and he's going to play a solid number of minutes, 3,100 for Avery Bradley on a team that's really struggling to find some offense. I kind of like that play a little bit. So
no, you can't go wrong. Yeah. No, yeah, I think you cut out a little bit towards the end of there. Right when we're talking about Avery Bradley, but I think we pretty much got the gist of it. 3,100. If he does suit up and he does play, it's a guy that could play starters level minutes at 3,100. This season he wasn't necessarily injured. It was COVID protocol. So keep your eye on a lot of those guys when because they're out for a week doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to be too limited when they get back. Maybe not 35 minutes, but I got you. I'm not looking at anybody on the Heat. If Tyler Hero comes back, that's just going to kind of, like you said, cut into that Kendrick Nunn usage and the Kendrick Nunn playing time and ball handling responsibility and everything else. Goran Dragic is the one guy that if I were to play, I continue to play him at 6,400. Sold smack in price. Don't mind it. Just don't love the matchup. So we'll keep it moving. We're almost at the halfway mark now. LA Lakers traveling to Philly to take on the Sixers in this one. For the Lakers, Kostas Antetokounmpo, Jared Dudley ruled out. Anthony Davis probable, while LeBron James is questionable. And for the Sixers, we have Mike Scott, Vincent Poirier out, and Seth Curry is probable. No game total, no spread. But I'll pass it over to you, Keith. This Lakers team, LeBron James just going into Cleveland last night, just doing his thing. Just doing what we expect from LeBron James, I think, nowadays. But what are you looking at over here? Are you going back to the well?
Yeah, I think, they're just crushing teams right now. The Lakers are. I don't think they're going to have any problem with the Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers are a decent team, but they're just not the same level as the Lakers. I am looking at LeBron James at 9,900. I feel like it's a decent price. It's okay. I feel like I just really get the feeling that he's going to go on a tear here. And once he kind of says he's done, they're gonna finally rest some people here and there because he keeps getting that questionable tag. And it's like, when's he actually gonna have those rest days? They're gonna be on the horizon, but until that happens, I think the Lakers are just gonna go on a tear and just crush people. So I got some interest in LeBron James. The other guy I'd be looking at on the Lakers side, the only other guy really, and I wouldn't fault you for playing Anthony Davis. I'm just not looking his way in the slate. But Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is another guy I'd be looking at, 3,900. He's gotten up 10 shots in the last two of the last 3 games, and he's going to keep getting those shots coming his way. If he knocks him down, he's gonna his value at 3,900. So those are the only 2 Lakers I'm really looking at.
Yeah, I mean he's the J.R. Smith. There's no more J.R. Smith. When the shot falls, he's great. I don't mind looking at him for GPPs. Do I trust him in cash? Probably not. That's Caldwell Pope that we're talking about, but I always end up with a share or 2. Usually on the smaller sites, I end up with a little bit more of them. LeBron James, 9,900. Probably won't play him. Can't fault you for playing either one of these guys, but between him and Davis, they're some of the best players in the NBA. Bottom line, it's a competitive matchup, was what we're expecting for the most part. You said it well. Lakers could steamroll any team in the NBA right now if they want. But if we're looking, trying to be realistic on some of the teams that could be more competitive, we have to, probably say Philly's one of those teams. So we might get 4 good quarters, hopefully. But we'll slide over to the Philly side of the ball. A little bit more interest over here. Joel Embiid at 9,400. I like Embiid. I like Embiid on the slate. I like Embiid in this matchup. He generally gets up for these bigger games. He's played well against LA for the past 3-4 games. I think he's averaging right about 60 DK points. So I don't mind taking a stab at Joel Embiid at 9,400. And he's kind of the reason why, I'm not getting to some of these other centers. Like I talked about Jokic. Yeah, I might end up playing a share or 2 of them, but I think I end up with more. Joel Embiid. And same thing could be said with Vucevic. I'm going to play Embiid. Capella at 91. I think I'd probably play Embiid at $300 more. So that's what I mean when it comes to eliminating player pool. Once I get to Drummond at 84, he's probably the next guy down I would look at, and then it probably drops off like another $1,000 after that to my next option. But that's it. It's just going to be some Embiid for me in this matchup, and I will draw the line there.
Yeah, I mean, I think Embiid's definitely a solid play. Can't argue with you there. I do like Drummond quite a bit more, just at the reduced price tag. But if I can spend up on Embiid, I'm definitely going to do it. I mean, like you said, he plays really well against the Lakers, so it's a good play. Seth Curry at 4,700. I do have some interest there, as well as Shake Milton 4,400. Good luck choosing which one. That's just really just for GPPs. But one of the two of them I feel like can really pop off in this game. Seth Curry's probably the one I'd look at the most because he had a bad game last game. But other than that, he's been really solid since he's come back. So I'd look there for some GPPs. But yeah, I mean Embiid, and that's pretty much it as far as cash games.
Yeah, and Embiid rested in that last one as well, so he should be fresh and geared up for this one. I do like the Seth Curry call. Once his minutes start to get back to where they should be, and Shake Milton kind of becomes a little bit more of an afterthought, we should see him just continue to make it rain like he was earlier in the year. And that's a really good price tag. 4,700's a little too cheap for my liking. All right, man, halfway through. 6 games left. Milwaukee Bucks traveling to Toronto, take on the Raptors in this one. 4 injuries for the Raptors. Patrick McCaw is ruled out. Pascal Siakam is questionable. The Bucks did not submit their injury report just yet. They're being a little sneaky on us. We do not have a game total, most likely because that injury report has yet to be released. So we'll start with this Bucks team. Traveling to, we want to say Toronto, but they're not. Traveling to Florida. Giannis, 10-7. One of the most expensive guys on the slate. I've already kind of gave my piece. I will never go against Giannis. I do like this matchup for him. Expect it to be a competitive game. Those are the ones I want to target him in. Do I end up with many shares of him? Probably not. It's the theme. I think I don't even know. By the time it's all said and done and my lineups are constructed, I might be more fair and balanced than anything. But I don't mind looking at Giannis. I don't mind looking at Drew Holiday. Those are probably my 2 favorite plays from looking at anybody. And that's about it. If you're anticipating a blowout, look at Bobby Portis.
Yeah, that's a pretty sound and safe logic. I do like Giannis a lot in this game. Seventh fastest pace for the Bucks, and it's going to be a fast up and down game. The Bucks and the Raptors both rely a lot on their defense and getting out in fast break and scoring, and that really benefits and skews towards Giannis. So I am looking his way, 10-7. It's a huge price tag, but that's where I'm going to be spending up, mostly on my plays. If you don't play Giannis, obviously pivoting to Chris Middleton's always good, 8,200, very reasonable price tag for him. Totally fine if you don't want to play Giannis. Pivoting to him is a good option. For GPPs, one guy, another bargain bin guy I'm looking at is DJ Augustine, 3,300. He hasn't had a great game recently, but he can put it in, man. He's really got a lot of skill. I might be a little biased because I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. He really popped off for us while he played for us in a backup role, but he's getting the minutes, and I'm just waiting for him to really have it pop for him and really all of it clicks, because I think he really has a lot of potential there. So that's more of a GPP play, but I am looking his way a little bit.
I feel like he's popped off on at least 8 different teams by now. Now I'm going to ask.
He's a journeyman.
Let's see if you can remember. Do you remember who drafted him?
Oh God, no! I have no idea.
I could be wrong. I think it was. Were they the Bobcats at the time?
Maybe.
I think it was the Bobcats at the time, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. You're gonna have to, maybe when I pass it over real quick to you after we talk about this Toronto team, I'll be able to look it up real quick. But sliding over the Toronto side of the ball, Siakam 7,900. He's questionable coming in. If he sits, yes, we'll see a fair share of OG. No, I will not chase that OG game. We should see Stanley Johnson start in that case, but he'll get eaten by Giannis. And if that is the case, if there is no Siakam, I think that's when I think Giannis just becomes a great and absolutely fantastic play. Like, he's already a great, fantastic play, but, that's when I'd probably load up on him when I realize that, he's going to have some fair share probably against Stanley Johnson. Looking at some of these other guys, Kyle Lowry's back in the lineup. We could play Van Vliet. We could play Lowry. It's going to be a tough matchup for these guys, but a fast pace. So I don't love them. They're not my favorite plays, but they're not out of play for me either. I'm very, very, kind of neutral on this Toronto team. I don't hate anybody. I don't love anybody. The one thing I could be certain of, though, is I don't think I'll be chasing OG.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm really never chasing OG. I think he's got a decent floor, but that price tag keeps coming up, and it's just at the point where it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, take your pick between Fred VanVleet at 7,900 or Kyle Lowry at 7,500. That's really your options here, I think. And I like the Lowry play at 7,500 more just because it's better price, and I think I usually go with VanVleet, but I like the $400 less for Lowry. But that's it for me.
Boston Celtics traveling to San Antonio, take on to the Spurs. For the Celtics, Romeo Langford, Peyton Pritchard both ruled out. For the Spurs, just Derek White. We do have a game total. It's 225. Boston favored by 3 in this one. So looking at this Celtics team, finally getting back to full health, it looks like. They're almost there. They need Pritchard back, but they got a lot of their major core pieces, so we should finally kind of see what this offense looks like with everybody put together. So I'll pass it over to you, Keith. What are you looking at in the Celtics?
Yeah, they have Jason Tatum back in full force. I don't like the price tag for Tatum necessarily against the Spurs. I do like Jaylen Brown. Just the lower price tag, 8,300. He's had some really popping off games recently. Tatum's back, so he doesn't necessarily have as much usage coming his way. So not my favorite play, but I don't mind playing him. Kemba Walker, 6,300. I got a lot of interest in him. He's rested the last game, so he's going to be rested up. He's been crushing it in limited minutes. So eventually those training wheels have to come off. And if he can get, he got 29 and 24 minutes in the last 2 games. So if he can get close to that 30-minute mark, he's really going to pay off on the $6,300 price tag. And then me and I love the GPP plays and the bargain bins. I'm looking at Robert Time Lord Williams. One of my favorite GPP plays. He looked. I got a chance to watch him in the last Celtics game. He just looked fantastic. He didn't play a whole lot. But this is a dude that did score 36 DK points in 20 minutes back on January 4th against the Raptors. And, San Antonio is just the 24th ranked in the league in rebound rate. So if he's coming off the bench and he's getting some decent minutes, I definitely look Time Lord's way.
Yeah, I don't know when they're just going to eventually do the smart thing and start this guy. And I'm not one of those people that's ever like, let's rush the young guys in there, because he does have his flaws. He's not perfect. He's very inexperienced. He'll mess up rotations. He's not going to make the right defensive switches and stuff like that. Those are going to happen, but they don't have anything better playing in front of them either. Tristan Thompson's basically just been a body. He kind of just stands there and does his thing. And Tice is the best big man that they have right now, but being able to interchange Tice's just defensive ability with like you said, Time Lords, defensive versatility, I think kind of getting a combination of those two things is what they're going to eventually need to do. That or just do the smart thing and what they should have did about 2 seasons ago and just trade for Andre Drummond so they can finally have somebody that can go against Embiid. Nonetheless, I'm with you. I think Kemba Walker's probably the number one guy I'm looking at 6,300. Probably the only guy I'm going to have any real consideration for on this team. It's a weird situation. Normally, I would say, let's wait and see what happens with Tatum and Kemba and Brown now. Where does the usage really go? How does it get funneled? But he's still underpriced at 6,300. There was no minutes restriction in that last one. It was a blowout. He could have played 30 minutes if they needed him to, but he just crushed it in the 24 that he played. So this game stays close. I would expect 28 to 30 minutes out of Kemba, and I like that price tag at 63. On the Spurs side of the ball. Oh, by the way, I looked it up. He was drafted by it was the Bobcats at the time. And I think it was 2007, 2008. DeMar DeRozan at 7,100. It feels like a great price tag. This is a tough matchup, though. Anytime we know that these wings come into Boston and have to go against the Celtics, well, I guess it's in San Antonio, but still have to go against the Celtics. It's not an easy matchup. So, I do like that price tag. I think that it makes sense if you're looking at it, trying to be a little contrarian. What I wanted to get your thoughts, though, is could we trust that price tag on DeRozan in cash, or do you think he's just a GPP play at 7,100?
I really think the $7,100 price tag I think it's almost insulting. It's like verging on that. I know it's tough to play wings against the Celtics, but I think I'm going to play a lot of this guy at 7,100. DeJounte Murray, I'm always butcher that name, but Murray at 6,600. He's also a little bit down in the price tag too, which really doesn't make any sense to me. It's a tough matchup for him, but I like both those guys. The other guy I like is Rudy Gay at 5,000. He's just been extremely solid all year. 24 or more DK points all 3 of his last 3 games, and he's got 35-point upside. So I think he's a really, really solid play in that mid-range, 5,000 to 6,000 or so salary as well. So those are 3 guys I'm looking at.
Yeah, so on the San Antonio side, I'm with you. I think it's DeRozan. The price tag just feels stupid low, and then you check the game logs; they're up and down, so that's what gives you that little pause and everything like that. But I still like him in this matchup. The other guy I'm looking at, and this is probably the more riskier play, and hold your breath, is LaMarcus Aldridge. 6K. It's a great price tag for Aldridge for what we're used to, not this season. A lot of it for me just comes down to game script. They're expecting this game to be relatively close. It's only a 3-point spread. And if this game stays close, we may see 30 minutes out of Aldridge and what's a good matchup against a weak front court. So that's my reasoning for it. If you think the game's going to get out of hand, maybe if you're playing somebody on the other side, you want to run it back, sure. Probably not a game I want to get overexposed to necessarily, but it is a big against the Celtics. So nonetheless, we'll keep it moving. Washington Wizards traveling to New Orleans, taking on the Pelicans in this one. For an injury report, Wizards right now have yet to release it, and it's because they're playing today. So it's going to be the second half of a back-to-back for the Wizards. We will likely see Russell Westbrook probably sit this one out. So keep your eye on that. He did play in this one today. For the Pelicans, we do not have an injury report for them either. That we do not know because just about everybody's healthy on this team right now. Also, reports coming out that they will be shopping J.J. Redick and Lonzo Ball. So hopefully, I kind of want to see some of these young guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Kira Lewis get a little bit more minutes. But we'll start with this Wizards team, and we'll have to be a little skeptical here because we don't have the information on our hands right now. But Bradley Beal coming in at 10-2. Probably because it's Bradley Beal and there's likely no Russell Westbrook, so I can't say don't play him. I can't tell you I'm going to play him. It's probably the contrarian GPP expensive pivot, and that's probably where I'll leave it for him. Outside of him, I don't mind looking at some Raul Neto. He should get some decent run. He played a little bit. I think last I checked, it was about 19, 20 minutes tonight. I'll have to go back and check that. And that was in a game
22 minutes.
22 minutes is where he finished. So, and I'm comfortable with that. It's a back-to-back. I don't expect him to be too limited. It was a groin injury that held him out, so keep your eye on it. But if he's good to go and he's starting, we've seen him start for Westbrook and just produce rock-solid value. And at 4,300, I don't mind taking a couple stabs at him as well. And then the trickle-down effect between, Garrison Matthews, Jerome Robinson, both these guys should pick up a couple more minutes. Robinson's price tag elevated $800 from today. Probably takes him out of my player pool a little bit, but I don't hate it either. So I think moral of the story, I'll be playing a little bit of Raul Neto and Bradley Beal as a contrarian pivot in GPPs.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah, Neto's really solid. He can do work in 20, 25 minutes, and he's already getting that. So if Westbrook sits, yeah, he's really great. I love him a lot. The other guy I would look at, and I can't believe I'm saying this because we were talking in the Discord earlier tonight about who the heck is this guy? This is Anthony Gilfella. I haven't looked him up, haven't had the time to look him up just yet, but he played 22 minutes tonight. It was a blowout. It was pretty competitive through the first 2-3 quarters, but fourth quarter is definitely a blowout, and maybe that contributed a little bit to it. But he got 22 minutes. He's $3,000 for the salary. So again, a GPP punt play, nothing more. I wouldn't put him in cash, but some guy to look for. But other than that, yeah, I'm pretty much staying away from the Wizards. I'm not even going to play a lot of Beal, even in GPPs probably.
Yeah, and I mean, most of the fun action is going to be on the other side of the ball, the team going against the Wizards. So we'll slide over to the Pelicans side. I'll let you take the lead on this one. Who are we looking at on the Pelicans?
Yeah, man, the Pelicans, they're interesting, but they have some deflated prices here. I think part of the reason is they're 25th in the league in piece, and I don't know why Stan Van Gundy has them playing so slow with all these athletes, but they get a really juicy matchup here, so you got to take advantage. Brandon Ingram 8,000, Zion Williamson 7,800. Lonzo Ball 5,600. Those are the three top guys I'm looking at, but I think you can play a lot of these guys. Those aren't the only three. I'll be looking hard at that team and just figuring out where you can fit people in because it's going to be a nice matchup. They need a win. They haven't really been playing that well recently, so looking their way. But I think Brandon Ingram's maybe the top guy that I'm looking at, just because the Wizards really don't have any opposing wings to go up against them. They have Isaac Bonga, and that's basically it. I mean, they play a lot of 3-guard lineups because they just don't have the length there. So no one can really guard Brandon Ingram. So I'll be looking his way a lot.
You said it perfect, man. I don't even need to touch on it anymore. Pretty much everyone's in play, but obviously we want to get some shares of Ingram. Zion probably won't end up on too much Bledsoe, but he's in play. And then I do like a couple shares of some Lonzo action over there. Moving on to the next game. OKC Thunder traveling to Phoenix to take on the Suns in this one. For the Thunder, Trevor Ariza, Josh Hall ruled out. George Hill and Al Horford are both questionable. For the Suns, Devin Booker, Damian Jones, and Dario Saric have all already been ruled out. No game total, no spread. Looking at this Thunder team, we're getting a little bit of a price bump for Shea. And it's definitely not the matchup we want to pay for a price bump, in my opinion. So I'll probably avoid Shea, 8,500. I don't think I'll end up on Baisley. Roby's still floating around at that comfortable price tag. If we do see that Horford sits out, we could go back to that well at 5K. Just, he makes sense for cash. I don't think the tournament ceiling is necessarily there. We haven't really seen it yet at that price tag. So I don't think I'll have too many shares of anybody over here on OKC.
Yeah, I'm not looking their way a whole lot. I mean, like you always say, the Suns really like to slow the game down, and that doesn't really benefit anyone for fantasy purposes. I almost always end up with a Thunder player on my GPP rosters though, when they're playing. And Baisley's one guy you said that I'm looking at. Lou Dort, 4,800. I'd be looking at him. He has had a couple bad games, but that's kind of what he does. He has a couple bad games and a couple really eye-popping games, and that's just what he does. It's just his identity as a player, I guess. And he's got a clear and cut role on the team, so he's going to play a lot. And then Mike Muscala, if Horford's out, whether or not Horford plays is going to affect a lot of this. But Mike Muscala, if he's out, he's had a good game tonight, their last game he had a good game, and he's only 3,600, so I'd be looking his way as well.
All right, we'll slide over to the Sun side of the ball, and it's kind of like the other games that we were talking about. Sometimes we don't like the team on one side, but we got to like the team going against OKC with no Devin Booker, tons of usage, tons of shot attempts. These guys are all at great price tags. Chris Paul, 7,600, signed me up. I'm good with it. DeAndre Ayton, 73. I talked about having like 3 expensive tier centers, and that's probably what I'm doing. I'm spending up at the center position. Embiid, then Drummond in the middle, and I guess they're kind of all not. I wouldn't call him, middle tiered. He's still 8,400. And then Ayton at 73. I love all 3 of these guys. I'm going to have shares of probably 2 out of the 3, maybe even all 3 on DK where I can even get 2 centers. So I'll be playing Paul. I'll be playing Ayton. I don't mind Cam Johnson at 48. I think he makes sense for, just a rock solid value play. And then, Bridges is always in play at 53. His ability just to rack it up defensively. Again, he should take a few extra shot attempts with no Devin Booker. I really like a lot of these Suns guys.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I'll be looking at this team a lot too. Ayton probably up there as my number one guy. I mean, especially if Horford sits, I don't know how the Thunder are going to stop him. There's always that blowout risk, and the Thunder though they remain competitive with every team, even when they're not supposed to. So I don't think there's really a whole lot of risk there. So Ayton would be the guy if I don't roll out Drummond. Ayton would be the other guy I'd go with for sure.
Alrighty, we'll keep it moving then. Only 2 games left. If you guys have a quick second, we've got time to give it a pause, give us a thumbs up, give us a rate and review. We really do appreciate it. We see them coming in there. We're taking everything that you guys say, constructive criticismly wise, and we're trying to adjust. We're trying to get better on the fly. We're trying to provide the best product that we could for you guys. So between the, fix your audio issues and stuff like that, sometimes we do have our issues. We are trying to make it work, guys. We're working with the best we have available, but we also see the positive stuff in there as well. We take everything to heart. Whether you just love the show or whether you want to see us get better, it all means just the same to us. So, guys, drop something in there. Drop a comment, thumbs up, subscribe, hit the like button, whatever it may be. Check us out wherever you listen to your podcasts. And then while you're at it, check out the Fantasy Pass. If you haven't already, go to hoop-ball.com. Whether you want just the DFS pass, we have just the DFS pass where you get access to the Discord. You get some of the premium articles behind the paywall. And then you get to always listen to us free every single day. But we have a few extra goodies back here that you guys should be taking advantage of. And it's only $1.99 per month. When you hear that price tag, you're thinking, what? That's cheaper than a cup of coffee. And it's true. Take away 1 cup of coffee out of your entire month, and you can have the DFS pass. Come join us in the Discord. Have some fun. Get the season-long Fantasy Pass, and you get access to all the Discords. Season-long wager, DFS, all the articles, everything that we have going on back here, all the live feeds, some fun stuff, guys, so check it out. 2 games left. Dallas Mavericks traveling to Utah to take on the Jazz. Jazz on the second half of back-to-back. They are playing the New York Knicks right now as Austin Rivers lights the world on fire. Can you give me an update on that one as we go through this real quick? I got to know what that guy's doing right now. after that first quarter that he just came out with. But nonetheless, like I said, no injury report for the Jazz. For the Mavs, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell, Josh Richardson, all questionable in the health and safety protocols. These guys are working their way back while Maxi Kleber is still ruled out. Let's talk about this Mavs team. My boy Luka Doncic, 10-9. I'm never going to say not play Luka. If anybody's going to say to play him every single night, it's probably this guy right here. But I don't think I'll be playing Luka on this slate. Just too many options, too many guys I like in better spots. So I will probably take a pass. If anything, I prefer Porzingis at 82, just because I think this is going to be a mismatch for him that he could definitely take advantage of. Outside of Porzingis, maybe a couple stabs at Jalen Brunson at 47, but we'd have to see and make sure that guys like Josh Richardson aren't playing. Because once this team gets healthy, we're going to see Brunson probably move back to that bench role. What are you looking at on Dallas?
Yeah, by the way, end of the third. Actually, the fourth just started. The Knicks are up 1, and Austin Rivers has 25 points in 17 minutes. So he is still lighting the world on fire. That dude's just killing it for some reason. I don't know why. But anyways, I'm definitely. I don't like any of these people on Mavericks at all. Doncic is just too expensive for me. Not excited about this matchup. James Johnson, you played 31 minutes last game, but they're going to be getting people back. DFS and Josh Richardson, like you said. I can't get excited about any of these guys. I don't think I'm going to play any Mavericks, to be honest with you.
Austin Rivers missed. He was 10 of 10. That was 10 of 12. So that's funny. We're in the fourth quarter now, and he had all these points in the first. He was 10 of 10. Did he? Okay. Yeah, he was 10 of 10. I think it was at the end of the first quarter. Maybe it was in some way through the second. In his first 10 minutes of play, he was 10 of 10. It was wild. All right, we'll slide to the other team though. Looking at this Utah team, second half of a back-to-back. I mean, right now in this game, it's looking like it's going to be a tight one. It's 83-81, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So these starters aren't necessarily going to get that chance to rest like they would like coming into playing the Mavericks on the following night. They were probably hoping for not necessarily an easy win, but one where they could kind of take it easy towards the end. So looking at some of the options that we have on here, not a lot I love. I like Mike Conley's price tag at 61. Gobert at 72 is okay, but I think I'm playing 8 over him anyway, so I'm not going to go there. And that's really it. I don't hate any of these guys. I just don't see myself landing on them.
Yeah, Gobert's price is a little too low, 7,200, and I don't fault you for going there, but like you said, I think there's better options out there. But if you have to save a few hundred, Gobert is definitely in play, and he's a good play there. Jordan Clarkson at 5,900. I actually do have quite a bit of interest in him. He's a bench player, second half of a back-to-back, and the Mavs are still pretty thin. Even if they get these guys back, and they're going to be playing limited minutes, so he'll have a chance to kind of light up the Mavs bench, and I think he's in a good spot for that. The only other guy I might look at a little bit is Joe Ingles at 4,200, which is just a great price for a guy that has a role that's that big on a team, I think. But that's really it. Not too excited about any of these guys except for maybe Jordan Clarkson, just because I think he's going to play maybe more minutes than he usually does, just because it's the second half of back-to-back.
Yeah, that's a good call because we've kind of seen once Eagles came back, he started eating into that bench usage and the shot attempts that Clarkson, the ball handling responsibility that Clarkson was getting. If we see some of these starters, Mitchell or Conley or anything, on the second half of back-to-back, need a little bit of an extra breather. You're right. Clarkson would be that guy. I could definitely see him taking advantage of the Mavs' second unit, like you said. Not that great. Final game of the night. One that should be loaded with fantasy. Nice way to end the night after we just kind of went through a few teams and we're like, I don't want to play anyone here. I don't want to play anyone here. I don't want to play anyone here. We do like the Suns, but don't want to play anyone here. We have some action. We're gonna get some shares in this late game hammer. Minnesota Timberwolves traveling to Golden State, take on the Warriors. For the Warriors, Marquise Chris, Klay Thompson, Alan Smoliak, all ruled out. For the Timberwolves, Jarrett Culver, Juancho Hernan-Gomez, Karl Anthony Towns ruled out, while D'Angelo Russell is questionable. He missed the last two games, or last game. Last two or last one. Could be mistaken on that one. But nonetheless, we should get some value. It should be just a fantasy-friendly matchup. So looking at this Minnesota team, if Russell sits, I think we know where to go. It's to Beasley. It's to Rubio. Both these guys should see plenty of usage. Rubio's not going to be a guy taking a whole bunch of shot attempts, but having the ball in his hand, being able to play that primary ball handler and that facilitator. We saw it last game. He could rack up the assist quick, and if the shot falls, it falls. It's a cherry on top. But it's a great price tag at $5,400, and I don't mind Beasley's at $67. you want to take a look at a guy like Jordan McLaughlin, I don't mind that either. It's a rock solid value play. You should be looking at low 20s minutes. Regardless, the game gets out of hand. He plays a little bit more. So solid value play there. And then Jared Vanderbilt. He's just been rock solid, and he might even have a firm grip on the starting power forward role once Karl Anthony Towns comes back. So that's what I'm looking at. It's a lot to love over here on this Minnesota side of the ball. But anybody you're kind of gravitating towards more than the others?
I was almost shocked there. I thought you weren't even going to mention Jared Vanderbilt, but you got your guy in there. So yeah, he's definitely the top guy I'm looking at, actually. And I haven't been on him as much as you, obviously, but yeah, man, he's crushing it right now, and I think he's there to stay. And 5,400 is definitely a swallowable price tag for anybody, but Vanderbilt is definitely in play. D'Angelo Russell missed 2 games, by the way, with that injury.
2.
I don't know if he comes back or not. If he does, I'd play some Russell. If he doesn't, like you said, McLaughlin. So I'm right there with you. Exactly what you said.
Perfect, man. It's nice when we agree. We actually had some disagreements, which is even better. Sometimes it gets boring when you're just doing a show with someone and they're like, yeah, we like the same guys, and there's no fun in that. It gets me a little worried. Now I'm thinking I'm a little too cashy on my GPPs if we're on all the same guys. But looking over on the Golden State side of the ball, Steph Curry comes in at a very swallowable price tag at 9,300. With all these studs available, you got to talk about Steph Curry. Put up 53.5 DK points against this team the last time that they faced in only 33.5 minutes. Sign me up. Steph Curry's a great play, no doubt about it. Not playing Kelly Oubre, not playing Wiseman, even though I do not mind this Wiseman play. I actually like him coming off the bench. It's tough. I just don't see him, playing too much in the fourth quarter. And now coming off the bench, it really kind of limits him to that 15, 20-minute role rather than when we were seeing a couple games where he's getting to 25. So we're going to have to wait for that price tag to probably drop just a little bit before we can get too invested into Wiseman anymore. But Draymond at 53, he remains rock solid with just his ability to produce in multiple different ways. Not a great tournament play, but he makes sense for cash as well.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I mean, you said Steph Curry. You have to love the matchup here. 9,300 is probably the highest price point guard that I want to roster here on this slate. And there's some other guys, but he's definitely in the most solid matchup here. Just going to take advantage of that Wolves defense. And Andrew Wiggins, 6,700. He got a minor salary boost after a really big game, but it's just not enough to turn me away. I'll definitely have some more Wiggins as well going up against this weak Wolves defense. Oubre, I'll take good.
No, I was going to say, I've played Wiggins like probably about 3 or 4 times this season. I've got him wrong every single time. I can't get that guy right. I miss the big games. Every time I think it's a big one, I can't get him right. So I hope you're right.
Yeah. No, I can understand not playing Oubre. I can understand just saying the heck with that guy. I think that he's one of those guys, with all these trade rumors starting to swirl around him, he's one of those guys that's going to, show out and just show up and try to put up a big game to either shut up the haters, quote unquote, or to showcase his ability for his next team that he's going to go to. I'll take some stabs at Oubre in tournaments just based on that storyline, but I can totally understand just fading the guy and not playing him. Wiseman, I do like him a little bit too in that bench role, like you said. So again, I think I'm right there with you pretty much.
All right. Yeah, and listen, I'm not playing Oubre. That doesn't mean you guys can't. I don't want to do it. But this is the kind of situations where, people like me, when we're not on Oubre, it's because he stinks. It's not because of the matchup. The matchup's absolutely fantastic. If he's going to have a good game, it's going to be in a matchup like this. So it's definitely a contrarian GPP play, and I like the fact that you mentioned it too. So thank you. That's it, though, man. That's all we got. That's right under an hour. Look at that. We got 2 minutes just to sit here and blabber for a minute or two. But we did it. We got through the 12-game slate in under an hour, touched on a lot of good pieces. There's going to be a lot of moving parts. There's going to be some guys that we talked about that aren't even going to be in play tomorrow, and vice versa, guys that we didn't talk about that will be. So, again, monitor the news. I've been going a little lighter on these 10-plus game slates, just all the moving parts. I recommend it. The ones I've been hitting hard are the 5 to 8 game slates. That's just kind of what my season mentality has been. Do what you're comfortable with. Do what works for you guys. Keith, anything else you want to say before we take off?
Yeah, man, it's really it's just a strange season, and I think one of the things that's really got me through is the Discord that we're all in, and everyone should take a look at that and become a part of that because it's really, really valuable. You can drive yourself nuts just surfing these various Twitter feeds trying to figure out what exactly is going on, who's sitting out, who's starting, who's going to be limited, all that stuff. I mean, having it all one place and a bunch of people that are all about it, just like I am, and chatting about it, that's really been a huge plus. And instead of having to sit there and worry about it just by myself and pull my hair out. I've got other guys that are in the same channel, just discussing it and getting over it. So it's a huge thing, and Hoopball's doing a great job with that stuff.
Absolutely, man. I'm glad you brought that up. So, and if you can't get on the Discord, you just want to catch us on Twitter, you can do that as well. It's just right around that lock time. We're usually in the Discord, so it's harder to get us around the lock time. But you can find me at Mike Apotria, MikeApoTria. And Keith, why don't you let the good people know where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Ginsberg Beats, G1NSBERGB3ATS.
Yeah, that one's going to take me a while to get down.
A little difficult. Might as well just call it Hoopball.
I'll get that eventually. I'll get it eventually. But thank you guys for listening. We'll be back with another show tomorrow. I will be on with my good buddy Dave, I believe. So we'll be out here crushing it. We got some moving things going. It's gonna be a good slate. 12 games. Let's go out there. Let's take down some cash, guys. Let's get a GPP win. I've been getting close. I want to take one down, but more or less, I want to see somebody else take one down. I want to see you guys take one down. I want to see the screenshots. I want to see the goodness. It means more to us when we see you win than when we win ourselves. So let's go out there and let's crush it.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.